The DSA people, they don't run against the Democratic Party. In fact, some of their people who just attended their convention, they've posted on Facebook about how the corporate Democrats are the danger. Obviously, corporate Democrats are the most egregious among the Democratic Party, but the DSA leadership is so tight at the hip to the Democratic Party that they are refusing to break from this party, even in the face of genocide, even in the face of the Democratic Party having its lowest ever approval rating in 35 years, even in the face of 9% of people under the age of 35 saying that they support Israel's genocide. I mean, even given these stunning, I would say dramatic shift in consciousness in relation to the Israeli state, even in that context, many of these leaders are not willing to break from the Democratic Party. That is the single biggest obstacle to building any kind of successful movement, whether it is on the question of workplace rights and wages and benefits and pensions and all of that, or it is the question of war and genocide. And that's why this campaign is important, not because any one election can solve all the problems in the world, but because this election campaign, just like our other election campaigns, is integral to building the movement.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, welcome back. Welcome back to another week of Nick at Primetime. The streak continues. We have much to discuss. I have a great guest who was praised by Whittney Webb, Professor Mouse, who will be joining us to discuss his book regarding how MAGA was a psyop the entire time for big tech. I mean, we explained this on RBN many times before, how MAGA was just a giant psyop to trick white dudes to support the Republican Party after how it became extremely unpopular after George W. Bush Jr. The same way that Bernie Sanders was a psyop by the establishment in order to convince progressives to support the Democratic Party after the disastrous term of Barack Obama, where he became the drone strike king and the deporter-in-chief. And he oversaw one of the largest transfer of wealth from the working class to Wall Street banksters and the ruling class ever. So in order to recover after Barack Obama, where Democrats lost 1,000 seats, but they lost 1,000 seats over Obama. Democrats was in shambles. So their strategy was to bring in Bernie Sanders to sheep herd young people back in the Democratic Party. Now they figure out the best way to do it now is to have young Muslims. Like if now people are suspicious of people like Bernie Sanders, so they're like, let's get a young Muslim people for a free Palestine to support and revive the Democratic Party. The same way that was a psyop, MAGA and Trump was a giant psyop. Essentially, the ruling class have been putting on a clinic over these last few years to combat the internet age and its great awakening of anti-establishment sentiment among the working class. Another organization that they have used in order to spread anti-communism among the left, in order to introduce democratic socialism, which we already explained, that your mind already has to be colonized, and you are already conceding to the capitalists by even calling yourself a democratic socialist. So if you're a democratic socialist, you're one of the people who believe that everyone who has successful workers' revolutions in real socialist countries, these are people who call the Soviet Union an authoritarian country. Whenever there's actual blood and soil, that is, whenever there's blood that's spilled for a revolution, that's when you see these people say, "Oh, that's authoritarian. We don't endorse revolution. We don't endorse violence. We endorse democratic socialism, guys. That's a good version of socialism." Speaking of psyops, and if you don't understand how complicit the DSA is in creating an ineffective, dumb left, you guys realize the DSA has been at this for decades. Like, DSA, there are a lot of old heads in DSA who wag their finger at people who organize for a third party. They say, don't you know we're the pragmatic ones? We're the pragmatic ones. We're trying to take over the Democratic Party. Don't you know that running as a third party is impossible? That's the DSA people. The DSA people was the people, they will never forgive RBN. And these people will hate our guts. Like whenever I see someone not have a critique of what I'm doing, but whenever I see someone who engages in like malicious smear jobs, like the entire Fred Hampton smear job on us, like you guys know, we got a great relationship with the Hampton family. That was started by DSA people. And I know this very early on when I look at the most vicious, aggressive, I mean like the most low down, dirty scum anti-RBN people. Whenever I see them smear us, whenever I saw people say, look, these people was lying about Fred, these people are grifting off Fred Hampton, I'll be curious and I will always look at their profile. And Zoya, back me up on this. I promise to God, every time I see someone smear me, I will always see DSA in their account. It never fucking fails. There was a recent smear job of me where they were trying to smear me as a sexist because I'm like, all men want women who stand up for Palestine. You know, I'm essentially laying out the common feeling for a person who wants to achieve companionship with someone who has similar beliefs than them. So I said, essentially all the homies, everyone want to grow like that. So then a bunch of DSA people want queer socialism, queer DSA. They was like, this is more example of RBN being sexist. Look how Nick from RBN, we told you guys he was red, brown, and lions. We told you guys that Nick was a right-wing grifter. Nick is reducing our allies into sexual objects. Just another example of toxic masculinity. Guys, you just seen it. And that smear job came from a DSA guy. It never fucking fails. So the point I'm making is that DSA is willing to organize with Zionists, but they can't stand principled communists. They can't stand anyone who advocates working outside the Democratic Party. They are distrustful of. They are distrustful of outside activists who want to challenge the system. Meanwhile, they're 100% okay with welcoming and organizing with imperialists and genociders and Zionists. So there was a DSA convention over this last week, and this is what had Twitter blowing up, at least left radical Twitter. DSA had referendums, but if you had this vote on RBN, if we had a poll on our RBN chat about whether we should be fighting for an anti-Zionist RBN movement, Zoe, what do you think the number will be? What, 99%? 95%? If I'm going to count the trolls, I'll say 95%. Without counting the trolls, I'll say 99% of RBN members will say, hell yes, we need to take a principled anti-Zionist position. Guys, half of DSA members are fucking Zionists. For the people who thought I was too rude and too mean, why do you guys think the DSA supports AOC in the first place? Why do you guys think they supported Jamal Bowman in the first place? Why do you think they support the Democratic Party in the first place? Because genocide is not a deal breaker for them. Apartheid is not a deal breaker for them. But God forbid, if anyone disagreed with the liberal consensus on the trans issue, and you guys know I'm very socially liberal, but if you had 40% of DSA people who was aggressively anti-trans, you don't think the DSA wouldn't fucking purge those motherfuckers immediately? And now there's this discourse on DSA where they said, well, we can't purge Zionist members of an organization. That would be authoritarian. This is liberalism in a nutshell. This is social democrats in a nutshell. Look at this. The vote for a referendum for an anti-Zionist DSA, 43%. 43% of DSA said no. that they shouldn't fight for an anti-Zionist DSA. And this was the reaction.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Bro, that is the weakest Free Palestine chant I've ever seen in my life. Bro, you have half the room that is just horrified at the results of the poll they just seen for different reasons. One half is fucking horrified that they accidentally signed up in an organization with a bunch of jihadis. And then the other half is now realizing, oh shit, I'm organizing with a fucking genocidal Zionist. The DSA celebrating only half of their members are Zionists. Yeah, I know I'm not the only one who saw that. How there was absolutely no, like, bro, the amount of deflation when they realized they hit a hurdle on this issue that is not reconcilable if you disagree with an organization. And now they're saying stuff like, oh, there are outsiders who want us to purge our own members. We can't listen to the outsiders. We don't believe in purge. I'm telling you guys right now, and I love my RBN brothers and sisters, but if anyone in RBN turn around tomorrow and start talking out of their mouth and do a 180 about Zionism, that motherfucker is about to get purged immediately. Anyone in RBN that's advocating for that's don't support fighting for an anti-Zionist RBN, yeah, you getting fucking purged. Like, this is one of the examples I mean. And I don't want to show, look, I'll take his name off. Because my critique is mostly of the organization. There are people who are young and dumb and misled who don't realize that DSA is a fraudulent organization. That's their job, guys. Their job is to be infiltrated by Zionists and capitalists and to mislead the left. So that's why I'm not going after DSA members individually. They are victims of the scheme. It's the reason why I don't go after the people who are victims of propaganda. I'll go after the propagandists. So in this situation, I'm going after how DSA is created, the structure, the mission. But I'm not going to go after individual DSA members. A lot of these people are just college kids. They don't know how the world works yet. They believe in nonsense like authority. We can't advocate for authoritarianism. Oh. That's what a lot of young, dumb leftists do. Oh, we can't have authoritarianism. We need democratic socialism. For all the dumb leftists who like we can't have authoritarianism, I'm gonna give you a hypothetical to show you guys how fucking ridiculous your anti-communist beliefs actually are. For the people who believe that communism is authoritarianism. You have a society, you have laws, and you enforce it. Whenever capitalists enforce their laws, they say, oh, yeah, we believe in law and order. Law and order, hell yeah, we love law and order. But whenever a communist country enforces their laws, they say, oh, that's authoritarianism. If you have, let's say in this hypothetical scenario, I'm going to explain to you guys why people who believe that we should be anti-authoritarian left, let's say we have a scenario where we are able to successfully have a revolution in the United States of America. And we pass Medicare for all, and we have a progressive taxation system which facilitates that, where the 50% of the workers who make less than $30,000 or less, they won't pay any more in taxes. We have a progressive climbing ladder where if you make over $5 million, we seize 90% of that shit. And we're going to use this to fund Medicare for all. This is the basic social democrat Medicare for all policy. What will you do if we pass this, if the ruling class tells you that we refuse to pay taxes if it goes to Medicare for all? What if Jeff Bezos, in the entirety of the 1%, Elon Musk, like all these billionaire motherfuckers came together and they did direct action, like direct billionaire action. So they said, we're going to come together and we refuse to pay taxes. We're going to fight against the state. A democratic socialist wouldn't do anything about this scenario because that would be authoritarianism. You guys see why the U.S. left has been brainwashed with ridiculous fucking beliefs for a very long time, and they don't even realize it? That's the entirety of the majority report left. That's the entirety of the DSA. We hate the tankies. We are against the authoritarian left. You mean the people who've been successful? Authoritarianism is a short word for authority. So you complaining because we flex our authority after our revolution against the capitalist class? You guys see how behind the United States left has been for a very long time, and why RBN have to come out and critique these bad ideas because they've been allowed to foster and rot the working class for decades? As I mentioned before, the DSA has been at this for decades, guys. Decades with no tangible victory for the working class in the United States. No health care, rent is out of control, a police state is being built under their nose, there's a genocide that happened in the party they're trying to change. Meanwhile, they turn around and pretend that they accomplished something. They wag their finger and say, oh, well, what you guys accomplished? What did you accomplish, motherfucker? This is what happens when you have an unprincipled socialist organization that are afraid to purge their members. Look, I don't want to highlight this person in count because I don't want people to tackle them, but thank you, principled comrades on the DSA left, for pushing back against talk of purges coming from outsiders. God, I'm telling you right now, if I wake up as a Zionist, I fully expect Rome to purge my ass. Do you guys see how purge is the anti-communist Western PMC left anti-communist phrase? We can't have, that's another way for them saying purity test. We can't have purity tests. We can't have purges. Meanwhile, the same Zionist enabling organization like DSA, they are the same people that will purge someone into quickness if they didn't agree with the trans agenda. I'm very socially liberal, but I notice these fucking things. If you're socially conservative and you're against trans issues, you think the DSA wouldn't purge someone in that scenario? Of course they would. So they will purge someone over liberal social justice issues, but they wouldn't purge people for being Zionist. We disagreed on the expulsion language, but we aren't Zionists. We promise you we're not Zionists, guys. I know we have 40% of our members that voted for the Zionist side in the revolution and the resolution. And God, it actually gets worse. It actually gets worse. Because I actually didn't show you guys this one. There's another resolution, which I think is more damning than the first one. Because the cope and the excuses that DSA people are making after their organization was exposed as Zionist is unbelievable. This is the vote for the DSA when it comes for support for a one Palestinian state, the correct one-state solution, which we've been advocating for, and I have made the argument for years. We intellectually and morally destroyed the concept of supporting a two-state solution where the Palestinians are next to a genocidal Israeli state that had legally seized their land. You're not a communist. You're not an anti-imperialist, and you are a fucking fraud of a socialist organization if you accept the imperialist claim of a state of Israel. So people like DSA, they will say stuff like, we need a socialist Israel. We need an Israel that's not authoritarian. Nigga, we don't need Israel at all. It is illegitimate. It is an imperialist construct. Meanwhile, in the Democratic Socialists of America, only 30% of DSA members said they vote to approve a Palestinian state. You guys realize that this poll, only the first poll, you can say, oh, well, 40% of their members are Zionists. No, 70%. They are a Zionist organization. You guys think feds, do you guys think Zionists and liberal Zionists aren't actively infiltrating left organizations? You guys think that they're not a wave of Zionists? Once again, the DSA is an organization that is extremely white, and extremely Jewish, by the way. So only 30% said that they support one pound. So So DSA is a Zionist organization. You guys realize that that's not an exaggeration, right? The same reason it's not an exaggeration to say Zohran is a liberal Zionist. They want a friendly and liberal Israel, an Israel that doesn't slaughter Palestinians, but they still, through their politics, facilitate a state of Israel. That's why you see the PMC left, the DSA left. These are the same people who will condemn the resistance because they don't support a Palestinian movement destroying the Israeli state. I do. They don't. They're like, oh no, we gotta be principally anti-war, even if it's people that fighting for the liberation. This is my friend Gadget Girl. I did this rant so many times before for a second. Like I explained so many times why, as an anti-imperialist, you literally can't justify the support for a two-state solution. For one, you literally have Israel that's about to fucking try and seize Gaza now. So condemning Palestinians to live next to an illegitimate genocidal neighbor is a horrific idea as a leftist. Like, to me, I understand whenever I see liberals advocate for this stupid shit, it makes sense to me because they're fucking liberals and they believe in imperialism. They believe in the legitimacy of the British Empire and who they can give land to. I am dumbfounded when I see people who say they're on the left support a two-state solution. People thought there were DSA people who thought I was being unreasonable with Marianne Williamson. To me, it's crazy that you'll be on the left because there was never a point on the left, even when I was a dumb. I like to make fun of myself, but even as a young, dumb leftist, there was never a point where I was like, yeah, I support Israel as this existing socialist state. That's crazy. And another, I summed this image up quickly because just for the sake of time. When you look at number 3, it's very important to remember that Zionists, if you support the two-state solution, that must mean you reject, or you must be one of the people like Bernie Sanders, people like liberal Zionists like Bernie Sanders. They will say stuff like, well, the Greater Israel Project is just a conspiracy theory. So if you don't believe that the Greater Israel Project is real, you support a two-state solution. The reason why people who understand that Israel is a country filled with Jewish supremacists who want to accomplish the Greater Israel Project, if you understand that, you won't support a two-state solution because the two-state solution is designed to buy Israel time until they purge Palestinians. That's why liberal Zionists would support a two-state solution. The liberal Zionists, I mean in Israel, I would say, right? So you're like, I believe that Israel has its right to exist. Whenever you hear people say that, they have a fundamental misunderstanding of this conflict. So there's 70% of DSA who have a fundamental misunderstanding of this conflict. But that shouldn't be surprising because everyone who actually did their research in DSA and know that there are an organization started by feds and imperialists and CIA members. How you say her last name? Gloria Steinem? Actually, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It's a name I only read. What's that? Gloria Steinem? Steinem? What the fuck you say that? Either way, Gloria Steinem is let's call her Gloria. She's one of the founding members of DSA. And as one of the founding members of DSA, she, after October 7th, after months, this is in December, this is weeks, 2 months after the genocide by Israel, you had one of the founders, Gloria Steinem. How you fucking say her last name? Yeah, she was on CIA payroll. And then there are people in DSA who refuse to fucking acknowledge this. We always bring this up to DSA people. Steinem. Thank you guys. You gotta know I read most of my shit. So like sometimes I'll read stuff and I'm like, how the fuck you actually say this? Gloria Steinem was on CIA payroll. And after October 7th, as Israel was slaughtering Palestinians, she wrote a letter urging for a full investigation of Hamas rapes. So DSA founders were legitimizing the October 7th mass rape hoax. This is one of the founders of the organization, Gloria Steinem, who in 2016, she was the one who said that women who support Bernie Sanders are only doing it because they want to date young socialist boys. The DSA was founded by someone who supported Hillary Clinton, and they still wouldn't do anything about it. Look, Gloria Steinem, who supports Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination, recently made controversial statements or misstatements in which she suggested that young women who support Bernie Sanders are doing so not out of the well-considered political judgment, but because they are thinking, where are the boys? The boys are with Bernie. Now, check this part out. This is coming from the DSA in 2016. Steinem, this is the person who was on CIA payroll, the person who supported Hillary Clinton, the someone who smeared Hamas as people who engage in sexual violence. Look, Gloria Steinem serves as one of 8 honorary chairs of Democratic Socialists of America. What the fuck? Here's another founding member of DSA. For all the people who think I'm exaggerating when I said that DSA was an organization designed to create stupid leftists who enable imperialism. Why, I just quit DSA. Over 4 decades as a member of DSA, one of the group's founding members is leaving in sorrow and anger. So one of the reasons why they left is because it was upset because DSA as an organization was critical of Israel genocide. So do you guys understand what's happening here? This person was in DSA membership for 4 decades. It wasn't until October 7th that they quit the DSA because they was upset because the DSA was critical of Israel. So you're telling me that the DSA as an organization at the leadership level was infested with genocidal Zionists at the leadership for 40 years. One more receipt I want to show you guys here. We have our guest. I'm going to introduce my guest here very soon. Great to see the Taos professor join us. I'll introduce you very soon. I'm going to finish my segment up. I'll introduce you. We have a great guest. We're going to talk about Palantir. We're going to talk about how MAGA was a psyop to introduce big tech. I'm going to introduce you, brother. I'm running a little bit late, but I'm going to get to you here very soon. I'm going to show you guys this. Here's our friend Noah from Midwestern March. Another person who DSA, they hate their guts, bro. Like whenever you see people who attack and hate ACP, Midwestern March, you know, the people who actually engage in mutual aid, these people are hardcore Hamas supporters. That's why I'm cool with these people. They unapologetically support Hamas, support Palestinian resistance. Meanwhile, the Zionist DSA, they hate these people. So here's Noah, one of our friends, explaining why the DSA is hemorrhaging members and why they're failing. Look at this. The main DSA chapter became gravely concerned after learning that their national convention set for August 8th in Chicago slightly relaxed its extremely strict COVID policies. Guys, in the year 2025, by the way, the convention's 2025 health requirements only strongly encourage masking and do not require it during meals or when speaking at microphones. Bro, are you serious right now, DSA? They are upset because the DSA in Maine only strongly encouraged people to mask. And they did not require people to wear masks while they was eating meals and speaking at microphones. So the official position at DSA, the organization that wants to appeal to the working class, is that you must wear a mask while you're eating. You have to wear a mask when you're speaking on a microphone. We know where the sound is muffled. And I don't want to I don't want to fucking revamp this fucking debate. I don't want to rehash the masking debate. But I never understood this shit because if you wear a mask, aren't you safe? I thought masks are supposed to keep you safe. So why are you, as a socialist organization, requiring other people to wear masks? So they are upset that the DSA convention, you had main DSA chapter that was upset because the DSA or overall organization was not pro-mask enough. Like, who is this for? Here's DSA supporting Tim Walsh. Harris choosing Walsh as a running mate had shown the world that DSA and our allies on the left are a force that cannot be ignored. For everyone who wonder why I criticize them for being an organization that enabled genocide and support the Democratic Party, DSA as an organization just last year supported a genocidal Zionist, Tim Walsh. Actually, I'll bring my guest in now. I can cover the next part with you because I'm going a little bit late. So I'm going to bring my guest in now. Amazing author, journalist, citizen journalist, historian, reporter. Great to have you on RBN for the very first time. I'm going to bring you in now because I want to just get your take on this whole thing because I still got a little bit more to cover on this topic. Thank you for joining us, the Taos Professor. Thank you. It's great to meet you. This is the first time we actually had a conversation, man. Make sure you check your audio. I think you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, great to be here, man. Very special to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you wrote a great book that was praised by Whittney Webb, describing the rise of the big tech capitalists who are infiltrating and, well, I won't say infiltrating, it was part of MAGA and tricked the working class into supporting them. So we're going to get to that here very soon. I want to get back to this because actually I know you've been following a little bit of this coverage. I want to get your thoughts on this and the DSA and their insane vote for 43% of them say they don't support being an anti-Zionist organization. Do you have anything you want to chime in on before I continue?
Not quite yet.
All right, let me continue this because this is the DSA organization supporting Tim Walsh. Here's Emma Vigeland, Hassan Piker. DSA, you guys see who the DSA left is?
This is Emma at the tort conference.
Yes.
This is her tort conference.
Look, I'm a dues-paying member of DSA. I encourage everybody to sign up to DSA if you haven't already. Although if they're watching your stream, they probably have.
I think we got.
Oh, yeah, photos.
We
Oh
got-
shit! All right.
No, it's fine. No, stay. I'm
right.
saying, I was pointing to that to be like, no, there's a lot of DSA dues signing members here.
I know. But if you're on stream and you haven't done it yet, like I don't do much, like what do you call canvassing or any other work like that. But I do pay my dues, and everybody should because it helps organize.
Hell yeah! How was your birthday? Tort conference.
You guys see what this is about? This is exactly why I say DSA is a bunch of privileged rich people cosplaying as anti-imperialists, as socialists. DSA is an organization full of Hassan Piker fans. The guy who plays video game with AOC, who vote for Zionist resolution. Anyway, I can wrap this up here. I want to get the Taos Professor in. I know I went a little bit long with this segment.
No.
But I want to get you in here. We can get into your book. It's great to have you on, man.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, I was going to ask you. I think I saw something the other day that seems like they're going to try to sheepdog everybody back into Bernie in about 4 more years. I don't know if you've kind of picked up on that type of rhetoric out there, but I don't know why people would fall for it for a third time.
You have, I think AOC is the person who's going to run for and be the progressive candidate. She's going to lose. She's obviously not going to win. Her job is to lose, and then she's going to endorse Pete Buttigieg. And then they're going to be saying stuff like, oh, I know we don't agree with Pete Buttigieg, but we have to support Pete Buttigieg because we don't want J.D. Vance to win. That's the never-ending sheepdogness. And this is the new DSA hero. I'm gonna shortly show you guys this.
Oh yeah.
this shit right here is fucking infuriatingly cringe.
There you go, Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg gets to buy another island.
I was trying to hold in a cough and I started crying.
Oh, I thought you were just being tender. I feel the same way. I bring this out in people. I really do. It's
Have some water.
Bro, who is this for?
They're normal people like us. Don't you get it? They're just like us. Look at them in a regular moment. They're funny. They're just like, regular people.
This is what happened when you're a rich kid and you trying to appeal to the working class. But you have consultants that tell you that you gotta be very careful how you speak if you want to win over the suburbs. And this is what I mentioned when I say that Zohran Mamdani is another psyop, just like Tom. We're gonna get to him here very soon. He's a psyop to trick people to support the Democratic Party. He is dominating this election, guys. He is I think his polling is more than every single other candidate combined. He doubled second place. He is dominating this New York primary, New York candidate race in the general election. So the question I have for you guys: why does Zohran Mamdani feel like he needs Elizabeth Warren to win this race? Why does he think he needs Richie Torres to win this election? He absolutely does not. He is here to rehabilitate a genocidal scumbag like Elizabeth Warren. You know Elizabeth Warren, who was surprised to learn that the bombs that she supported is using to bomb Palestinians in Gaza. Look, I'll read the headline. Democrats surprised to learn bombs are used to bomb people. Senator Elizabeth Warren condemned Israel for killing Palestinian civilians with the bomb she voted to send Israel. So the last thing I'll say on this segment, and I'll move on, is for the people who think I'm being too hard on Zohran Mamdani, if you're in New York and you support him because you want cheaper goods, you do you. I'm not attacking your personal opinion. I'm telling you guys why we should absolutely not trust him and how this is just another sheepdog campaign. He is here to rehabilitate genocidal Zionists in the Democratic Party, just like the goal of DSA. But anyway, let's move on. Anything else you want to add before I move on, Professor? This is the theme of I wanted to attack the left first, because the theme of this show was about how the ruling class use psyops to trick people. And I went to talk about the left first before I brought you on. I went a little bit long, but you guys see the overall premise. Do you have any reaction, anything you want to add, and how the ruling class use these tricks to convince people to vote against their interests?
I mean, I'll say that there's a common thread, or there's a commonality that I see between the way that Trump was hyped and the way this guy was hyped. And it's that their supposed opposition give them just as much, if not more, camera time and attention as the opposing side. So it was like when they kept giving Trump all this attention during the last, 2024, I kept saying, like, if I was a Democrat and I didn't want this guy to win, I'd stop going after him with the lawsuits, because all it's doing is making him a martyr, and I'd stop talking about him on TV all the time. They didn't do that. So I'm like, it looks like they want him in for whatever reason. So when I watch Fox or Newsmax today, I watch all of it just to get a sense of how the propaganda goes around. And they're constantly talking about Zohran Mamdani. Well, if you don't want him to get in, why don't you talk about a different candidate and give them more attention, right? So it's like,
that's a great point.
The Uniparty does this thing where they sometimes, they prop up either a hero, but sometimes they prop up a boogeyman so that you can have an aversive reaction as well, right? So
the right wing is loving Zohran Mamdani. This is great fundraising for them. It's a great rating. The same reason why Democrats are loving Trump. Like the idea that Trump supporters and the right have that they only live by having Trump in, their ratings are back. they how many millionaire Trump's created? The people who've been covering Trump have been covering Trump in Washington, D.C. for 10 years now. There are people whose entire career have been started because of MAGA and the movement. This is the game. The pendulum swing. They have fun. It's a competition between them. Then they meet and they have fun. They sip wine together at their next APAC meeting. That's what they do. But I want to bring you on. I'm sorry that I went a little bit long on my intro.
No, not at all.
But I want to bring. This is why we invited you on. This is the first time we met and we had conversations before, because I wanted to learn more about the rise of what many people are calling technocratic fascism. And this is what the MAGA political movement they've been assigned to facilitate this. So there have been a lot of questions, and even I had this question in the early days, like why Donald Trump was allowed to win, because it seemed like the establishment really hated him, right? He seemed like the outsider. But if Donald Trump wins, or if anyone wins, it's because the establishment wants them to win. But before I continue with that thought, this is your book that you wrote. It was praised by Whittney Webb. Here it is. New from Professor Tiles. A public-private fintech industry dominated by Coke and tailback interests is due to distribute school choice subsidies using digital wallets and stable coins based on AI social credit analytics. Look at this, Project 2025, the PayPal presidency. So I want to pass to you because I want to learn some more about this as well. This is why I invited you on, because I saw this, I was like, bro, this is fire. So can you explain like the premise of the book, why you feel like you had to write it?
Yeah, so I'm actually a public educator. I teach at a couple community colleges and one university. I'm an adjunct. For those who don't know what that means, it means I am not tenure track. It means I don't have an office. That means I don't get benefits. That means I get treated like an average worker in the hierarchy of academia. It's like they give you you get paid per course per semester, and there's no job security. That's just a little side note as to how I got into writing about education. At one point, to sort of make ends meet, I was supplementing my income. They call us freeway flyers because as an adjunct, in order to make ends meet, especially now with the Obamacare caps on the employment rates, you have to jump at several different schools. And so one of the things I was doing was tutoring online. And I was tutoring for it was Pearson. It's a multinational ed tech company. It used to be a textbook company, but they moved into ed tech. And one day I realized that they sent us an email and they said, well, IBM's Watson is going to be co-piloting with you. And so what that means is IBM's Watson's, it was the premier artificial intelligence application prior to all of the GPT, the generative AI that we're seeing as of late. And so basically I was, I'm like, okay, so every day I go to work, I'm basically training this thing to replace me. Well, at the same time, I live in Illinois. I'm on Southside Chicago, and we had a Republican governor at the time. His name was Bruce Rauner, and he was stalling on the budget. And I saw this as a ploy to basically push public institutions into private receivership, including public schools. I knew that he was a big proponent of what they call school choice. And so this is a basket term for all things public-private partnerships in education. Specifically, there's two main threads. So one is what they call the charter schooling industry. These are private companies that are subsidized with public tax dollars. Those are pretty much locked in. This second time around here is what we're going to call we'll basically call them vouchers. Now, they got different terms for them. They call them education savings accounts. Sometimes they call them scholarships. They're all basically sort of vouchers. They're ways that you get tax dollars funneled into either private schools or ed tech companies to purchase these products. So one of the departments I was working in was shut down at that time. And I'm watching AIs get ready to replace my tutoring jobs. I'm losing some of the jobs that I have adjuncting. And so I decided to write the first chapter of that book, which was an article. And it was based largely on the work of my mentor. Her name was Charlotte Thompson Iserbeach, passed away in 2022. She actually worked for the Department of Education during the Ronald Reagan administration. She blew the whistle on something called Project BEST. That's basic education skills through technology. And so what she saw was there was a ploy to put in public-private partnerships between the Department of Education and big tech companies, and in order to implement Skinnerian operant conditioning. Basically, it's psychological conditioning as opposed to actual classical learning through the computer. And so when I saw all those things sort of came together, I didn't really ever want to write about education, but I figured looks like there's not going to be a job to defend here. So I wrote that first piece. She got in touch with me, encouraged me to finish this book. Actually, she passed down her library and her files to me. So pretty much all the books you see behind you were hers. And so that's sort of the background for how I got into this topic. The school choice thing is sort of like the first half of the book, or the first chunk of it, because it shows how the public-private partnerships set up the corporatization, and then I look in how that corporatization streamlines right into the digital era, and basically intermediates all of these public-private partnerships through these technologies that are going to data mine people and basically push you into a social credit system.
So when we talk about how fascism is the merging between corporation and the state, we're seeing the merging between AI and the United States government on a scale that we never even thought was possible. You have these AI tech bros that explain, they're like, why would we even get politics? Like, we have way more power than any global leader ever had, ever. Like, we are inside governments. We have their secrets. We control their military. Palantir was just rewarded a giant $10 billion military contract. I think it's one of the largest of all time. And I wonder, like, how did they convince Trump supporters to get down with this? And I want to ask you about this as well, because I'm curious, how has the Trump MAGA right, like in your personal experience, like whenever you share this information, like how have they responded to this? And what was the mechanism in which the ruling class used in order to sell this to the working class?
Yeah, it's interesting. So the book was published in 2019. Okay, so this is a few months. This is late 2019. It's a few months before the lockdowns. And during that time, I'm looking at technocracy, and I'm looking at globalism, and I'm looking at sort of what we might call crypto politics or parapolitics. The pejorative term is conspiracy theory, right? But this is sort of like where my research is going at the time. So I was actually, I've spent a lot of time in sort of libertarianish kind of, right of center circles. A lot of people who were been sympathetic to the whole Trump thing, and he's playing 4D chess and all this. And I tried to be patient with that for a time. Now the second time around, there's no room for that left. I mean, if the man is still incapable of getting to checkmate with his 4D chess, then he's totally incompetent. But as we'll discuss, right, it's not that. It's something much more deliberate and nefarious. So a lot of people when we talk about education, I guess people on the right of the spectrum have been more open to hear about technocracy and techno-fascism. I actually wrote a piece. I don't know if you can see it back there, but it's New Politics. A friend of mine, shout out to Dr. Lois Weiner. And I wrote a piece, and she told me that term on the left was kind of like taboo. So it was one of the terms. She said, when you write this piece for the audience, kind of steer away from that term in itself. Now that we're actually in Trump 2.0, I never had so many angry comments when I wrote the first piece, which was just on Project 2025 and how basically this dismantling of the Department of Education is just a shuffling of the sort of.
You got angry comments from Trump supporters, you mean?
Oh yeah. I was told. That's hilarious. I was told to get the F out of the country multiple times. I was told, one person said that, and they tagged Elon and in the tweet and said something like, am I working for USAID? And that they need to investigate if it was just like, I mean, just the hate that came. I'm sure a lot of it was probably bots. Sure. as far as the whole school choice thing goes. But most people just wanted to, really what they wanted to focus on when I would come on would be like woke. Oh, the woke stuff. And anytime I've tried to steer it back into, right, whether or not woke is a thing in the schools, this technocracy, this panopticon, this data mining of your children, regardless of what values we're going to be force feeding them, that's going to be there. They can change, right? They can go to this new, pseudo Christian nationalist or whatever you want to call it brand of republicanism and still have the same data mining and still have social credit analytics. They might have a different metric in terms of what permits you to go to the store or not, but most people wanted to talk about it in terms of the woke culture war stuff. And I think that's part of how they got people.
So they was arguing that we should have like this big tech school choice thing because of wokeism in schools? Is that we had to fight against woke ideology in education? That's why we should let AI and the tech bros into our classroom. Is that, am I getting that right?
Yeah. Except that, so right. The people on the right would say like, oh, we got to get the woke stuff out. So there's this big homeschooling movement that's grown out of this. And some of it, at the time, so, I have a 5-point program or a platform for strategies for how to fix the problem. And the first one is local control, public control. Well, during lockdowns, I don't know which words, I don't want to get your channel waxed, but right when they were doing the experimental gene therapies, I was like, man, I don't even know. It's going to be hard for me to defend the public system. So I'm like, okay, well, we still need to do that, but let's build some parallel structures on the outside. And, homeschooling pods and co-ops can be part of that. But what I kept telling people is they're going to come around with the voucher soon. And when they do, if you take that, you're not getting away from the government schools. Like, for instance, in Illinois, they just passed a bill where if you're a homeschool, you have to register with the state. And they also passed a bill where if you're in public school, you have to have a mental health screening. I think you can opt out, but if you don't opt out, it's a mandatory. Okay. Well, if homeschools have to register, they're basically public schools, right? We have a voucher system here as well. So that means, right, you're not actually getting out of the government schools. You're actually, by taking the government money into the home schools, you're bringing it in. Now, the way they sold these people on this was that you're going to get a voucher and you're going to get to go to a private school or a Christian school or a private Christian school, not realizing that the tuition for most of those schools, the voucher money's not going to cover it. It's probably not in an area that you can get to. So the bulk of the money that you get from the vouchers, ESAs, scholarships, whatever you want to call them. I like to be precise with my language, but I think they came up with all those different terms to make it more confusing. So I'm just going to say vouchers colloquially, but understand that if you go looking for bills today, you're going to see the language of education savings accounts and scholarships. So most of that money is going to go into those products, right? Especially if you're talking about students that are in communities that are impoverished and don't have the best public schools. Well, they probably don't have a great public transportation system. So all these things means that basically most people's options to use that money will be ed tech, online charter schools like Alpha School or Out School, which is 100% AI. Now, a lot of the people that bit onto that, thinking they were going to get some kind of a Christian education. I don't think they realized that, that was sort of the cheese in the trap for them, but that's how they convinced people. Anti-woke, we'll give you some money, you can choice, that always sounds good, right? And you can go to a religious school, and they left out the part about the data mining and the AI.
I find it extremely interesting because this is the theme that we hit on all the time. And I was just critiquing the left for doing this. How the ruling class uses the culture war to convince people to support their dubious agenda that don't benefit them. And that's the ruling class. And I've seen it. Like there would be like these Republican plants at these school boards talking about how the schools brainwashing our children into hating America, teaching wokeism to them. And the thing is, I'm always confused. I guess it's almost a side point. Like, I would love to talk to some of these people because the idea that they're teaching like wokeism in schools is hilarious to me, especially considering they like teaching Zionism. Like the United States school system, I remember specifically they taught me that Native Americans got along with the settlers, how they had Thanksgiving, they were feasting together, and those goddamn savages couldn't get their shit together, so we had to kill them all. So the point I'm making is our education is literally pure propaganda. Like, it's propaganda pro-state, pro-imperialism. Like, they told us ridiculous shit like how MLK was loved by America when he was hated, how Malcolm X was a radical bad guy. So that's why I never understood like how anyone can sell like there's some woke left agenda when it's literally just right-wing propaganda. But that's just a side point. I want to show you this. Do you have any reaction to this? Because this is another example of how the ruling class. I'll make a little bit bigger screen if you have a hard time seeing it. I know.
I can't.
Yeah, it can be. I'll make it a little bit bigger. I'll read it anyway.
Uh-huh.
I gotta be careful how I say this because I don't want to sound like a naive child when I say this, but you have Trump that is extremely aggressively trying to make U.S. propaganda the standard U.S. education. And I know they did that a lot, but Trump is really escalating it to the nth degree. Look, the White House is partnering with PragerU, the Zionist propaganda genocide machine itself. The White House is partnering with PragerU. The conservative-based education company is already making AI content. Oh, the United States is completely cooked. Holy shit. In a series launched with the Trump administration, can you guys imagine the history they're about to tell? They're about to say that the United States barged in World War II and they liberated the world from Nazi Germany all by themselves. Then they're going to say the history they're about to tell people is going to be fucking incredible. But have you been following this any at all? Do you have any reaction to this?
No, I would just my knee-jerk reaction would be two things. One is I thought we didn't like public. We got rid of PBS because we don't like government-funded stuff. But if it's government-funded right-wing companies, then we do like it, right? Like, and then the other part is we're conservative. That's why we're for AI, because you know how conservative it is to have AI. I mean, like, if conservative means anything, right? It means to keep things the way it was. Pretty sure AI is anything but the way things were. Like, I'm just saying the things that we sort of touched on it, but the things that they're getting away with under this man, under the banner of conservatism, as a principle, like the people who believe in the principles of conservative, you would think they would at least be able to see, like, there's a contradiction here in between the rhetoric that I thought I believed and the policies, but I come to find out most people don't actually have principles. Most people, right? When you might, it sounds like you're agreeing about something, but really they just don't like that they're on the bad end of the stick. If they can get on the good end of that stick and have everything inverted, but it's basically this, somebody else being exploited, they don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, very well said. The tribalism is insane. Like, the people who will fold on their instincts in order to be part of what they view as the winning team. That's the red blue nonsense. That's why at RBN we are strictly post-duopoly. And that's why people want to get hope out of the Zohran Mamdani race. I've seen people like leftists who are not even in New York. I don't want to name, but I've seen people like, I'm not even in New York, but this Zohran gave me a lot of hope. It's like, why? Like, you gotta see how people just want to, like, even if the Zohran was the shit, what is he gonna do as a New York mayor that make you want to, like, bandwagon his side? People just have that instinct because they're used to treating politics as a team sport. That's why when people see me criticize Zohran, they're like, and I've seen it when he first hit the scene. It's much less now, but when he first hit the scene, bro, the arrangement around this guy, like, you could not say anything. I'll say light criticism, and people will freak out because that's the tribalism which we was brainwashed into supporting in politics. And people treat this as a game when it's really not. One more thing I want to share with you guys to explain to you guys how our ruling class, they were not building anything. So MAGA, when they was running for election, they'll say Biden is the reason why China is getting ahead of us. When we take office, we're going to compete with China. We're going to invest in America. What have MAGA built? What has Donald Trump done for the working class? The only thing he has done is increase the military budget to $1 trillion, and now he is forcing the working class to stay in debt so he can coerce them into being his fastest foot soldiers. Look at this. Kristi Noem is offering teenagers student loan forgiveness if they sign up to be an ICE agent. I thought you had a very visceral reaction to this.
Because it's another.
Go ahead.
It's another blatant contradiction. They just sat there during the Biden years and railed and whined about, like, you're going to let people have their loans forgiven. Like, it's okay if you pick up, if you beat up on immigrants, then it's okay. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's why it's just the whole thing. Like, that's one thing that's always frustrated me, man. It's we can disagree about stuff, as long as, but it's when people contradict their own principles, I have no respect for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if we have different principles and we just disagree, like that, you know, like we might not get along all the time on everything, but yeah, it's just, you know.
Yeah, that's well said, because I'm very much on the left, but I like conservative principles is something that interests me. I didn't screen your politics. I'm not even that sure about your politics. I know you wrote a good book about Palantir, and that's not my thing. I was like, I don't give a fuck about politics. I'm sure we agree with some things, we disagree with some things. Well, but when you look at like conservatives generally say they believe in small government. So I like to test that. Like I'm like, principally, I support like the idea of not treading on you, like the idea of so conservatives, I would love for them to explain why they support giant military budgets, giant police budgets, giant ICE budgets. Conservatives are supposed to be principally against this stuff, which is why I'm down to talk to anyone. Because doesn't that seem weird? I think you want to chime in, right? What would you about to say, sir? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I just wanted to say that, you know, and that's part of why I was super excited to come on this show, because a lot of people don't know. Like, I mean, when I started writing, you know, this was right before Trump got in. And like I said, you know, I mean, a lot of my, I guess, I don't know if you call it activism, journalism during those years has been sort of in right of center circles. But, you know, my political sort of awakening was actually coming out of the left. I remember I had this professor, American Lit professor, and he gave us this, it was sort of like context for like the time period. It was a 1960s American Lit. And he's showing me there was, you know, I remember the one slide, and it was Robert McNamara, and he explains how he was president of Ford Motor Company, president of the World Bank, Secretary of Defense. I'm like, how does one guy run a bank, the military? And it was like the first, I was like, I thought these things were separate institutions. This was like my first window into this. And so then I started getting really into like, you know, radical left-wing stuff. I listened to a lot of Immortal Technique, and I'd listen to him, he talked about all this obscure history, and I got really into the Black Panther Party at the time. And actually, one of the professors there was married to a guy that used to, he lived with Afeni Shakur in the Panther 21 up there, used to make documentaries for him. Shout out to Tony Chauncey. We keep in touch to this day. It was during the Obama years that I got really kind of disillusioned with a lot of leftist politics. And then I sort of leaned into, you know, I knew I wasn't, you know, mainstream. So I'm like, oh, let's this libertarian stuff. And then, you know, you look at sort of the conspiracy theory stuff. But, you know, it was looking at sort of how the Panthers were done by COINTELPRO that sort of got me thinking about what people call the deep state today, looking at intelligence, the mergers between business, government, and intelligence. And, you know, that's why when Trump came around, I saw, you know, in some ways you can think of Trump as basically he's done for the dissident right what Obama did to the dissident left, which is he sheepdogged a lot of people. And I think social media had a lot to do with this. I think they were able to glean from the analytics what were the buzzwords. They were able to, instead of having this blunt instrument of like broadcast propaganda, they were able to actually see like, what do people really like, and in smaller demographics, and play those groups off of each other. So when Trump came around, and I would see a lot of these people that I were listening, like, I'm listening to all these people like say good things, but I'm like, and I was like, I was getting ready for it. I was trying to be polite with people because, like I said, we're all on a journey and stuff. And some people, it takes time. Sometimes people have to tell you things a few times before it clicks. Yeah. And anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because, that's
it's interesting here. Like once again, it's interesting here because like I don't tell Zoya like, hey, I only want to have lefties on. I'll just tell her like I would let her have interesting guests on. I knew you wrote that book, so I didn't want to assume your politics. I didn't know beforehand, but I could tell that you had more of a libertarian critique, and we had plenty of libertarians on before and this is why I actually like talking to a lot of right wingers. It's weird that I view libertarians as right wing ideology. That's why I said that. But because like when you look at communists, like I am, and the fact that we want to rein in the capitalist class, we represent the pure idea of libertarianism. Reining, and I'm not selling it, I'm just making a point here. Rein in the police state, reining in imperialism, reining in the excess power that the capitalists wield on the working class. When what libertarians want is they want liberation of the shackles that they believe the working class, the ruling class have on them. That is what we want. We want to liberate the working class. And I'm not selling. I ain't trying to sell anything. The reason why I say this, I'm not going to a long spiel, is that's why I tend to get along with libertarians. And a lot of libertarians are confused about this. Like, how many times have we had libertarians on? They're like, man, I'm very vibing with this comment, dude, because they don't realize that we want a lot of the same things when it comes to decreasing the power that our current ruling class has over the working class. But anyway, let's move on, because we can talk about this ideology and theory forever. But I want to get back to this story here and more of your reaction to it, because this shows how the capitalists are the true authoritarians. And this is how I try to explain this to the libertarians, because like the term that people use now is technocratic fascism. I used that earlier, right? And I'm 100% okay with using that, because you guys know I'm down with whatever strategy, whatever vocabulary it takes to win over the working class, right? But honestly, I'm not even a big fan of the term, to be honest, because technocratic fascism is the inevitable result of capitalism. What happens when you have a capitalist who wants to squeeze as much, whenever you have the goal of never-ending profits, and then you get these pesky regulations, and also you got to test more, you got to pay your employees. So the best thing that you can do once you maximize the profit that you can take from the consumers is to infiltrate government. So the next thing you do after you maximize your profit share, you infiltrate government and you merge yourself with the government to maximize and to have complete control. This is the end game of every single capitalist. They will never tell you, but this is the end game for every single one of them. That's why communists and libertarians tend to have a agreement on this. That's why I'm not selling anything here. I'm explaining this to explain why libertarians and communists tend to agree on these issues. We diagnose the problem differently, but we understand that we have a ruling class that's trying to centralize power in order to maintain the control. Our solution to that is kind of different, but we acknowledge the same that we have a giant problem. Last thing I'll share, and I'll get you in here for your tape, because you got to see how this is related. This is something that we've been warning about for a very long time. Why do we have student loan debt? Why is it very important for the capitalist class to put a giant portion of the working class in debt? That's counterfactual to what you would want for an economy, because you will want your working class, especially the ones who got degrees, the people who are about to make money, isn't it best for them not to be in debt? If they wasn't in debt, then they'll be able to buy housing. They'll be able to start family, and they'll be able to contribute to the economy. So having a debt economy does not make sense. But if you have a central planning model that cares about the people, if you have a central planning model that cares about never-ending profits, it is very contingent for you to keep the working class into debt so you can bribe them into becoming your foot soldiers. So I'm sorry for the long rant, but let me introduce to this headline. An unintended consequence of student debt relief. Will young Americans volunteer for the armed forces in adequate number? This is a famous old article that explains the entire grift of the capitalist class, putting people in debt and creating a failure economy on purpose. So you will become an ICE agent. So you'll be a police officer. So you will go in Iraq and burn a village. So you'll sign up to join Gaza, the genocide in Gaza. So a lot said there, but I want to get your reaction to this. But you guys see how MAGA, Trump, and the ruling class, they have a very particular plan to put workers in debt so they become ICE agents. So you're forced to sign up to fight and die for Israel and the IDF. The Taos professor, any final thoughts on this story? Anything you want to react to?
I mean, one of the things that I looked at between my first piece that I did this year and this most recent piece was I took a look at the actual federal Department of Education budget just to see how it was chopped up in terms of what money goes where. And I come to find out that I think it's 3/4. It's definitely 2/3. I think it's 3/4. It might be right around 3/4 of I think it's close to like $230 billion spent on federal education through the department. Close to 3/4 of it is for the student loan program. Now, I don't know if how much of those are grants or how much of those are subsidized loans, but that just tells you that. And then I don't know how much your audience realizes this, but you can't. Those are loans you can't bankrupt out of. you know. And so what do? They go, oh, you can go to college. You know, when I was growing up, it was like, you know, we can't afford college, right? And then, you know, it was like, you know, my mom passed away, and it was enough to get me through. But it was like a thing where it was like, you know, you either had a scholarship or you had some money saved. You didn't just, you know, at some point when around the time that I was in college, it was like, don't worry about that. Just take out a loan. You'll be able to pay it back because you're going to make more money after you get out. And but in the meantime, actually, no, because there's not going to be any jobs when you get out. So it's like, you know, definitely the people that have, you know, I have people in my family that have lots of loan debt. You're sort of going to be, you're going to have to hit the ground running when they come in hard with social credit metrics. You know, I don't know what they'll do as far as, you know, my guess is that most of what's going to happen is you'll be lucky if they have a workforce training program for you. But it seems like, you know, aside from, as you know, to sort of, you know, build a precariat that's easy to push into a war machine, it's also going to get people locked into the back end of a social credit treadmill where you're constantly chasing and chasing and chasing to try to get to some kind of equilibrium.
Yeah, they committed a massive fraud on the entirety of the working class in order to enslave them and indebt them. And I don't know how anyone can justify it, because not even, like, why are you justifying it? If you borrow money, you got to pay it back. How does that even benefit our society? You're taking money out of the economy for what? So debtors, so people who engage in usury can make a profit. So now there are many young people like, why should I even go to college? Why should I even invest in my education? So what's the result of this? We're going to continue to fall behind in STEM degrees. And that's why China is whooping our ass when it comes to education and when it comes to producing top talent in fields that actually matter. So the question I have for MAGA and for these people, do you want to compete with China or not? Because if you want to create a society where people go in debt because they pursue education, how is that going to compete with China? You guys know that's not even my fucking goal. I want cooperation between the states. But even if you're a capitalist, what they're doing doesn't make sense. Thinking like a capitalist, what they're doing doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, I guess I'm being naive because we know it's not about maintaining any society. It's about their profits. So this will be the last thing I'll ask you. So I appreciate you coming on and your time. This is another example why Palantir invested so much into J.D. Vance, and why Palantir's handpicked boy became one of the young. I think he is either the youngest or one of the youngest vice presidents of all time. This is what they get for that investment. It was a great investment. Why Palantir Technology stock surged 16% to a new all-time high. What a coincidence! So I want to get your reaction to this, and I get to ask you a question. How should people respond? And what advice will you give to people once they learn about this rise of techno-fascism? Like, who can they support? What do you suggest people do in the face of this rise of techno-fascism? And what's your reaction to this Palantir stock rise under Donald Trump? It's been great for them, the Trump administration. But anything else you want to add?
You know, it's funny. I think we were going to touch on some martial arts at some point. This might be a
you did train. You did train. That's interesting.
Yeah. I always thought a socialist MMA thing. I was like, is that like legit MMA, or is that like a metaphor for his politics? Like, are you not in Chicago? Are you?
No, I'm in Kansas City. I was in Chicago.
Oh, dang! I was gonna say,
but you're a Muay Thai guy, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm got certified. You know, not a full crew or whatever, but yeah, I'm certified in TBA. I got a black belt in Taekwondo. I know that gets a bad rap, that Wing Chun dummy, but there's some stuff that you can apply there. Believe it or not. Man, there was a segue. I was gonna say, if you're in Chicago, we should train or something. But a friend of mine, this was the segue.
Definitely will. Definitely do.
Yeah. I ran into the guy I used to train with, lockdowns obviously mess everybody's training up, and then hadn't done much in a while, and I ran into a buddy, and I was like, oh, hey, man, we should get together. And so, I say, hey, what you been doing? He's like, he's like, during lockdowns, I started trading on a stock market. He's like, oh, man, he's like, make some money. He's like, I'm investing in this one company. It's called Palantir. It's like, I was like, yeah, dude, I know all, because he didn't know about the book or any of that stuff. We kind of lost touch during lockdowns, and I'm not gonna be hard on him quite yet. I'll send him the article eventually, but yeah, of course it's kabooming like that. I mean, it's basically got all these government contracts. I don't know how many of them I noted in that article. But I know the Department of Defense, there's an API that they were going to use in partnership with Doge. They had something to do with something called Operation Tiberius Kirk and Health and Human Services during basically tracking and tracing all of the experimental treatments that went out on the 2020 and 2021. And there's tons of others. I mean, they probably have a contract with almost every federal bureaucracy. So they just went public a couple years ago, and so that's just in time for just a coincidence, right? They went public right before they got all their government contracts. I mean, but I wrote about Palantir in that book. Remember, that's 2019. So and I've often looked at it back then, like, is this gonna be the monster that becomes the engine for when I always reference the Chinese social credit system, because that's basically the image that we have of something that has what I think our system is going to look like very, very soon. And as I mentioned over there, a lot of those companies are WEF partners, like Alibaba was the main one. I believe Alibaba's a WEF partner. But yeah, I've often thought that Palantir was going to basically play this sort of surveillance state apparatus at a certain point in time. If you go back, it's interesting. If you just look at the history of sort of AI, right? Like the theory of AI was sort of developed around like the 40s and 50s, like sort of ironed out, right? And then we had what were called these Macy Cybernetics conferences. In 1946 was the first one. They ended in 50 something. Do you know when the first venture capital firm was created? This was a cursory search, 1946. So and if there's a more obscure one that was sometime before that, we're still in the ballpark. Okay. Some of the first venture capital firms to come to, so what they did at Macy Cybernetics was they laid out sort of the theory of like the feedback loop, which is the mechanism for AI and the data mining and the machine learning, the thing that makes it be able to pull out patterns of data that gets input. And so shortly thereafter, we have the rise of venture capital. And you have the rise of venture capital like NQTel, which is literally CIA, right? Then you have others like Sequoia Capital, which are like, right, totally embedded with CIA. So in other words, right, shortly after you have, right, these Macy Cybernetics conferences, you literally have intelligence run venture capital firms that went out and threw money at these tech companies to make sure that if anybody was designing or developing anything that was going to fit into their cybernetic police state, that they could pull it in and make sure it didn't go rogue and maybe, I don't know, have some kind of free open source software for the working class people to use, right? And, as Whittney Webb has done a good job showing, companies like Facebook and Palantir are basically just total information awareness and LifeLog, which were government projects that came out post 9/11 police state. But in the meantime, the years leading up to that, what was happening was people like PayPal Mafia was going around and throwing venture capital at every startup they could find to make sure that all the technology basically that developed went into their pockets and into their control group.
Yeah, very well said. And there's much to say, and I don't have time for another 2-hour stream, but I want to give your thoughts on this because I know you in the martial art community. Are they finally starting to wake up about this kind of stuff? Because I know a lot of people in the MMA community, they went very hard supporting for the big tech. I know like you had Trump that would pull up a lot of UFC events, man. I'm like, man, I miss the Pride days where there was no politicians that would pull up. And there are no politicians that will market themselves on the sport. Dude, there were so many MMA fighters that went all in on Palantir and the big tech. I'm like, ew, like they can tell a lot of them was paid. I hope they're starting to wake up to this stuff, man. I hope that there will be a culture shift.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as I always say, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I always say that people should train martial arts. not only is it good for your mental health, but especially if you are someone who organized, if you're a revolutionary, if you're someone who want to protect yourself, learn new skills, like it's such a very important skill, and it's so good, like as a general lifestyle. That's why I can't wait to go to Chicago, because it's been a while since I sparred, but I'm always training. Like I'm still working on my jiu-jitsu black belt. I want to get my BJJ black belt before I turn 40, but I need to get back in the gi. So I highly recommend all you guys, if you have a martial arts school in your area, I don't understand how people just walk around like just defenseless. Learn BJJ, Muay Thai. Muay Thai, like you said, that's probably one of the best ones. I grew up in a boxing family. My dad was like a 3-time regional Golden Glove champion. I had my brother, he used to fight on Showtime. So I always knew how to box. Like from a young age, we used to throw hands for fun. Like these kids nowadays, they don't go outside for anything. We used to go outside. We used to beat the shit out of each other. I'm a country boy. That's what we do growing up. And that we learn how to fight. We learn how to box doing that. And I still remember specifically, and I want you to speak more on how you kind of got Muay Thai. I was someone, not to brag, because we did a lot of fighting growing up, but I'm not used to taking L's, guys. Like I'm that much, especially growing up as someone. I used to be at the gym. Like there was a community center. My dad was the training partner of Larry Holmes. He trained with Leon Spinks when he was the heavyweight champion. Like my dad is a legitimate boxing trainer. So we used to go to the community school, and he used to train me in front of everybody. Like we used to do these boxing drills, like sparring for everybody. So everyone knew not to really fuck with me. So I never really took L's like that. Everyone knew I know how to fight. So then I did Muay Thai class. And someone said I'm bragging. No, I'm not bragging. Wait till you hear the story. I did the first Muay Thai class. I'm not bragging. I want to motivate you guys to get into this. As someone who knows how to throw hands, I sparred with this Muay Thai guy. I'll never forget his name, Paul. He had multiple Muay Thai world championships. He had all these medals and world titles. He was a retired old Vietnamese dude. He's like 5'6", 170. And guys, I'm like 10 years younger than I am now. So I'm like 23 years old. I'm in my prime. I'm fucking jacked, fucking great shape. I sparred with this guy, and he whoops my ass like the way I've never seen before. Like the leg kicks, the knees. Like I'm used to jabbing. I'm used to stay on the outside, more of an alley style fighter. I trained with this Muay Thai dude. He started throwing these leg kicks. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Bro, I got my ass beat like I never got my ass beat before sparring with this dude. Ever since then, bro, I've been obsessed with Muay Thai. So you say you train Muay Thai. Is that kind of how you get into it, bro?
My base art was actually Taekwondo. And as you know, like back in the day, I was now, I'm 40, I'll be 42 next year. So, I sounds like I'm a little bit older than you. But when I came up doing MMA, it was like this was the days like when Matt Hughes was the welterweight.
Yeah, Matt Hughes was a dude.
This was basically still when it was like, wrestler versus striker was very much that type of thing, there was guys that did the sprawl and brawl or whatever, it was like in that era. But the Taekwondo guys, like we didn't have hands, right? And we didn't have grappling. You had a couple side kick or spin kick, and I wasn't really good at a lot of that at the time. And all you gotta do, so all you basically gotta do is, like when you set up, you come out, boom, you just crowd the guy, and now his kicks are gone. What's he gonna do? So, the first time I sparred Muay Thai, especially never did the leg kicks. Oh yeah, the leg kick, it'll light you up. You'll feel that. And ever since then,
people don't know how painful it is. It's one of the most painful things.
Tappy.
There it is.
This knee is up no matter what. You know what I'm saying? This knee is. I got really, really good at checking. Like I spent a lot of time. I'll show you. This is a solid.
He got the pad in the room. That's so bad.
That's solid.
That base is fun.
Never seen that's about 40% shin on that solid wood. I made it a point. I was like, dude, I never want to feel that again. Like, you know what I mean? And I want to make sure. So I got really good at that. And then, what was funny was later on, as I got good at, keeping my guard and checking kicks and boxing, that's when I started to work in the side kicks and the spin kicks. And this is back, this would be nowadays, you see it all the time. But if you remember, during that era, you almost never saw a side kick or a back kick or a spin kick.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, GSP throw one in there, and I was scoring those all day. And I was like, oh, dude, like, and I remember thinking like, yeah, I was like, I wanted to go pro at the time. I back then too, you might know that, it's still kind of that way. Like, so I used to train at Gilbert's Grappling. And that was, Joey Gilbert was a UFC fighter. He fought BJ Penn. Clay Guida came out of that place. Very cool guy, very nice guy. I was like, I was in and out. I go to different gyms. They didn't like that. That was like cheating. You're cheating. Well, if you wanted to get, at Gilbert's, when I first started going there, they only did hands and wrestling. I mean, they were some of the best wrestlers out there. Super tough Midwest wrestler dudes. Lesser known guy, Clay French. He fought Roy McDonald at one point. Used to train with the Militich guys and all that. That was like their style. It was like, if you wanted to learn kicking, though, like Ty, I had to go to another place. And that was why I never ended up going pro. It's a long story, but but as far as the benefits of it, today,
I wish I would have. If I would have went back, I was the reason I didn't go pro because I had 3 amateur fights. I think I'll tell you guys, I won my first 2 fights, and then I lost my third fight 2-1. I didn't get knocked out. I didn't know one knocked me out. I lost a 2-1 decision. I still love that fight to this day because I showed a lot of heart. This motherfucker hit me with a body kick in round 2, and I was never the same because I wasn't training like that. Because that's when I was studying, I was working, I was busy dating, I was a young kid. So then I'm like, bro, I don't got time to train like this. And I decided, like, bro, I need to make some money because there was no money fighting in the Midwest like that. So I was like, man, I just need to get some money. I was like, fuck this. I was just training. I'm going to be a martial artist as a hobby. But if I was to go back, like if I was to do it again, I definitely would have just locked in because I was sparring with pros, dude. Like I was sparring with Bellator fighters. We had a UFC fighter. I had Jason Hyde. We had all these people that used to come out. I was sparring. They like, hey Nick, man, you can go pro. Like, nah, man, I'm trying to hustle. I'm trying to get some money, bro. Like, I was young, dumb back then. Like, if I had to do it all over again, I would have. I definitely would have. It's fun. I love sparring.
What weight class?
This is back when I was small. This is the. I think this was. Look at it was like 2012.
Hey, you? That's you?
Yeah, that's me in the red.
Oh, okay.
That's 10 years ago.
You got a little beard, I don't think, or something.
Yeah, I was a little baby.
What weight class is that? I was curious.
That's 155.
Oh, okay. So we're about the same size. Yeah.
I'm much smaller then. I'm an old fat man now. But that's when I'm 155. Really, this is why I was in. This is I still might go try and win the Golden Gloves one day. I still could because I had hands. You gotta say I'll throw a jab out.
The boxing is that's out of all the sports that I like. That's the one I would do the worst in. Not because that in a lot of boxing, when you're a lot of that bobbing and weaving that's done in pure boxing, we don't do that in Thai. Like if you're in that range, like you're in that inside range, you're either going to clinch or you're going to throw. So it's like I've never the few times I boxers,
I can't believe I found it.
Hands. Oh yeah, it's a long day, dude. They're like getting behind and hitting the the body hooks and and they're inside and around your corner. I've never trained that a whole lot. So but yeah, no, it's boxing is rough. Boxing is rough.
So this is 10 years ago, guys. Like you guys don't get a chance to talk about martial arts a lot on this show. That's why it's great to have you on. But this is 10 years ago. This is my last fight. I lost this fight. This is my last fight I had. I went to as an amateur. So you guys see, like, I was such a fucking small baby back then. But yeah, I want to get I want at least one more amateur boxing fight. Because one thing that pisses me off to this day is I had a martial arts channel. When I first started, I had all these footage of me sparring. I had footage of me sparring with my students I teach. I had footage of me sparring pro fighters. The thing is, YouTube deletes channels if they go inactive for a very long time. So, guys, I had all this footage that was fucking gold, bro. And I lost it. and it fucking drives me crazy. So I'm like, all right, dude, one day I'm going to remake that channel. I gotta get some new sparring footage. It's definitely great, and I watched it while I go to Chicago. Maybe we can do that because I'm always in the lab cooking, and I miss sparring. I love training, and I recommend highly. That's why I'm more. I know we pretty much done with the politics now. Like we pretty much just nerd. And I highly recommend. Like you don't have to fucking be a pro fighter. I didn't end up being a pro fighter, but you guys, it still benefits your life greatly because I don't have to fucking worry about shit. You know what I mean? Like. With some nerd who never trained is gonna fucking threaten me? Like the gap between someone who trains and don't train is as wide and vast as the ocean. You know what I mean? Like you would need at least a fucking blue belt in jiu-jitsu to stand a chance against me because I used to roll with black belts and brown belts all the time. And if you don't know how to do jiu-jitsu, if you don't know how to train grappling, the second, and I know you probably went through this as well. The second you go on the ground with us, the second you hit the ground with anyone who like blue belt level or higher, you're done, bro. I see so many of these street fight videos where people are clinching. They don't know what to fucking do. I'm like, bro, you guys are like a fish out of water, bro. Anyway, let me tell you, I was going through. That was just some nostalgia. This is back when I was my 155 days. I was much younger back in the day.
How tall are you? I'm curious. Like how tall?
5'8", not a tall guy.
Okay, we're about the same size then. I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, look, even today, I mean, aside from the obviously, right, you could defend yourself, and like you said, you can like. I'm not gonna say like I walk around and be like, I can take anybody, but I know that whatever happens, I'll have an answer. Right, I won't be helpless. Like even if that just means cover, grab a leg, dump him, and run. Like whatever it is. Like it's not like it's the feeling of I don't know, and that makes you feel helpless, that makes you feel overwhelmed, that makes you feel scared. Like if you're just a person that has like a lot of anxiety in general, or a lot of like just fear of what might happen in any given situation, like it helps alleviate just your sort of existential anxiety, just having that kind of knowing that like if something really bad happens, it might be bad, but like just knowing that you have options, it turns the volume down. And look, for politics and activism, especially like debating rhetoric, like if you have to help you keep your emotions under control, right? Like if you can keep them in control when someone's trying to knock you unconscious, right? I mean, all this guy's doing is yelling at me, big deal, right? Like, so like it translates in so many other ways. And I honestly, when they locked us down, I was like, I didn't know if we were ever going to get out. So, I was just writing and trying to get my book and get my information out as much as possible. And so I pretty much, and part of it was I couldn't go to, like I said, couldn't go to the gym. And I was on a cane. I ended up on a cane at one point when I visited my friend because it was an old injury, sciatic nerve problem. And I fixed it. I got back, my wife helped me. I fixed it. And then I was like, I'm never letting that happen. So I started running again. But part of it, what I realized it was also helpful is I got really burnt out around 2022. I was just like, and I'm just like watching this dystopia unfold. I'm like, it's like Sisyphus trying to push this rock up this hill, and like going back and just doing a lot of like Tabatas on the bag, doing my wind, like I'm training like the only thing I'm missing right now to be fight ready would be if I need to get my timing and my eyes back for sparring hard. I need to roll and get some of my timing back there, and just maybe like conditioning, like mitt work. But as far as like plyometrics, strength and conditioning, running, just like all of that, in some ways it's better than it was back then. But a lot of the benefit why I've maintained it more than just so I'm not crippled anymore. I have no health care. Is that like spiritually, mentally, like it, like when I'm out there running and I feel like, like was it yesterday? No, yeah, yesterday it was hot, dude. It was it was the closest I come to like quitting and like not like doing that last lap when I come past the house. And I'm like, do not do it. Like, and when I'm in that space, I think about, this political contest. I have to stay away from the combative rhetoric here for YouTube, etc. But like I channel, like I think about, like I'm channeling that energy so that way I can push through this run so that I can finish this next article, so that I can meet these technocrats on the next in the next contest, so to speak. So like all of that, I think it's important. I mean, it translates to like Nick said, like if you're not gonna fight, you're not gonna spar, etc. That's fine. Like, but even if your work is in a laboratory or it's paperwork or whatever, like it will translate into your ability to push yourself to do whatever it is you need to do. So
yeah, absolutely. And as an adult, I never got into street fights. Like for some reason, people know, man. Like because once you confident in the way you defend yourself, you can just compose yourself. I've been in so many situations and people just know for some reason, like they just know. I'm not flinching. Like I'm like, bro, I promise you. Like, and they just know, and like just not having that anxiety can de-escalate a lot of situations. I found that why do you guys think I show you guys these videos of Nazis fucking with people, and I'm like, motherfucker, I wish that fucking would happen at one of my mutual aid events one day, because I'm trying to go viral, guys. I want to go viral where I'm at a pro-Palestinian protest and mad some dipshit Zionists like fucking start harassing my people, and they attack me. Can you guys imagine? But that doesn't happen. But what I get upset at seeing, and this is why, especially I'm talking to my people now, if you're on the left, if you're a revolutionary, it's upon us to learn martial arts and defend ourselves. And people like me, and this is why I engage in martial arts as a form of mutual aid, is, hey, man, we got to learn how to protect our people. Like, I see these footage, and I see video footage of people at protests getting attacked. I see our people getting attacked by Zionist mobs. And I'm like, dude, we got to know how to fucking defend our people, man. You got to know how to defend your community. And just like my chat with everyone having a role in the movement, I know everyone may not have the background of a martial artist, but that's why we're supposed to form mutual aid societies. Like, this is why we grow our own food. We create our own outside government. We have mutual aid programs. And a part of mutual aid, because as I mentioned thousands of times, mutual aid isn't just charity. It's building an organization. So a part of that mutual aid is having people who teach self-defense. Like the left haven't been doing this for decades. Like we completely took self-defense off the table. So engage in martial arts as a form of mutual aid. You guys know how many times I taught people the basics of boxing and jiu-jitsu for free. I do it all the time. Like everyone around me, all my family members, they all either know how to fight or they've been offered training. Like, you don't want to mess with my crew, I promise you. They either know how to fight or they've been offered and they decline. And that's what you do to build community. And once you've been taught by someone like me, then you teach your comrade. Then your comrade will teach someone else. And all of a sudden, we got a fucking armed, trained, disciplined left movement. You guys see how far away we are from that? Because we didn't even get started. We're far away from that. We need to get started on that kind of stuff. We need to get off of social democratic socialist nonsense and start talking about having gun clubs, building militias, and that kind of stuff. But we are over 90 minutes in. I'll spare you. I appreciate your time. I'm literally thinking about I plan on going to Chicago. I got friends in Chicago, actually. That's why I plan on going up there again. I organized with the Hampton family. I was just there. Last month at the Hampton family house. So
wow,
maybe I'll go chat with you maybe in the next few weeks or so. We'll see. But any thoughts you have bouncing around your head before we wrap up? I appreciate your time. We definitely have you on again, and I definitely would love training with you one day.
Yeah, no, please do. I'll say my number afterwards, and yeah, if you're in the area, for sure, man, I'd love to hang out, and we could spar or whatever. But I'd love to just hang out and get together. Meet
yeah, it was a coincidence because I was just so happy to be in Chicago. I'll just so happy to be in Chicago in maybe in a few weeks with some friends. So I was like, hey man, that'd be dope.
I'll tell a funny little story. Y'all know Pasta Jardula over here, don't you?
Yeah, he's the homie. I like Pasta.
Yeah, so there's a funny story. Me and him, one of the first times I met him, I've been on the show before, but we were out in Tennessee. We go to get some wings that night, and it was my cauliflower ear that enabled us to meet Frank Stallone. Because I guess he saw my ear and he goes over and wants to have a conversation. I didn't know who he was. I didn't even know Sylvester Stallone had a brother. I thought it was just like a drunk guy wanting to talk about fighting, which is, you never know how that's going to go in the bar, right? Is he going to you want to test himself against you or whatever? So anyway, it's just a little funny story about martial arts and some of the, like you said, it can kind of open doors for you and stuff like that. So yeah, fun.
Let me put the screen up again so I can make sure you guys check out the Taos professor. Here's his book again if you want to learn more about the big tech capitalists trying to infiltrate our education system even more. So it was a great conversation. I told myself like we're not going to do another 2-hour stream, and we almost hit that again. So I hope you guys have been enjoying. The streak has continued. This is what, our 4th week, Zoya, in our new season. So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, and make sure you tune in tomorrow. We have Sarah from DDG who will be joining us for once again Nick and Sarah show. Shama Sawan will be scheduled. I think we are nailing for this Friday or the Friday after that. So a lot of great guests coming on for Nick at Prime Time. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good rest of the night. Anything else you want to add?
Is it super chats?
Yeah, super chats. Yeah, we have a few.
Okay, I saw it up in the thing. I was like, we can do that real quick if you want to. Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you reminding me. I put them up. I'm glad you reminded me. It's been a long ass show. I'm glad you reminded me for sure. Now, I'll read a few super chats I saw here. Thank you for $5, Willie Bragg. I've been in and out of DSA for many years. This is from my first segment. They talk a good game, but then they become blue MAGA at the end of the day. I can't deal with the duopoly. And that's the fatal flaw. They supported Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, bro. If you guys haven't been too mean to they are a fucking op. I'll show you guys how the person who formed the DSA is former CIA who literally supported Hillary Clinton. Now they supporting Zohran Mamdani. They were supporting AOC as she was voting for the Iron Dome. It took them forever to condemn her. It took massive pressure. And they finally wrote a measly letter condemning her. So the DSA is fully hijacking. And I'm trying to warn people because they take dues from workers. They're struggling financially because they're ridiculous liberal politics. But I cover how they've been bankrupt. That's why they've been failing. They have sold out the working class. Here it is. Look, Democratic Socialists of America must make 7-figure budget cuts. This is what happens when you fail to deliver for the working class. When you turn around and you tell the working class to support an anti-worker, pro-genocide, anti-union, labor-busting, union organizing busting candidate in Kamala Harris, you deserve to go bankrupt. And I see people whenever I did DSA, it never failed. People are like, Nick, come on, man, you can't be attacking left allies. Come on, Nick, you punching down. Nigga, they've been an organization for 40 years, doing the same failed politics for 40 years. Where are the victories? Where's our health care? If the police state been reining in, had the Democratic Party been shifted to the left, they are a failure of an organization and enough of civility politics. I'm not an asshole. I'm a nice guy, but politics is not a game. At a certain point, what are you delivering? What do you provide? What are you doing for the left and the working class? And if the only thing you have to show is an endorsement for Kamala Harris, you are a failure of an organization who deserve to go broke. And now after the convention I destroyed earlier in the show, there are DSA members bragging like, oh my God, we broke fundraising records. So they bragging about misleading and stealing wealth from the working class. And then people turn around like, RBN, why you focus on them? Because I don't want us to make the same mistake where we wasted $400 million on dipshits like Bernie Sanders. The same way people are funneling money to this Zionist organization. But anyway, let me get to the other super chat. One more. We have a solidarity one from Official People's Party. And another one from Official People's Party USA. I appreciate the super chat. Populist Purple, #Purple Love. So I think you're the first guest ever to remind me of super chat, and I definitely appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that, man, because I hate when I forget. People fucking bust my balls for that, and I'm glad he reminded me, so I appreciate that. Any final words, any final thoughts? It was great to have you on, man.
Oh, it was very cool. I just realized, I think at one point you asked me to give solutions, some kind of solutions, and I never really did, but I don't want to keep y'all after. I mean, I can ramble off some real quick, but I can come back another time too.
Yeah, we definitely love having you back on. Yeah. So I appreciate your time. I'll be back on Wednesday. So make sure you guys like, share the stream. I'll be with Sarah from DDG. Make sure you guys check out Taos Professor in this book.